No, I am not stuck. Shall I start? Hello everyone, today I Aishwarya welcome you all in another HTM QuBits session. HTM QuBits are series of sessions to provide great insights to hackers and designed to improve their technical.
Can I get that YouTube link as well?
Hello everyone, today I Aishwarya welcome you all in another HTM QuBits session. HTM QuBits are a series of sessions to provide great insights to hackers and designed to improve their technical, non-technical and soft skills to make them a pro for HTM or any hackathon. Today we have a very renowned speaker and my very dear mentor, Praveen Kumar Purushothaman. Uh, Praveen Kumar Purushothaman is a web developer evangelist, cloud computing consultant, and a blockchain enthusiast. He is a React.js specialist with a full stack JavaScript developer with over 12 years of industrial experience. He has authored several books and a speaker at various tech conferences. Praveen holds the top 0.05% overall position in the Stack Overflow. So so now we can invite Praveen sir on the stage. Hello, Praveen sir. Hello, Praveen. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. And every time you are messing up my name as well again, it's Purushothaman. Anyway, that's my dad's name. Hey everyone, my name is Praveen and I'm originally from Chennai, India, currently living and working in London as a full stack JavaScript specialist. I'm also a director of engineering for one of the three credit tech agencies. It's a Fortune 50 company. And I have been like more involved into front-end development, like both React and Node.js. So this is what I have been working on these days. So yeah, how many of you are here as front-end developers, right? So a lot of demand is going on towards all the single-page applications like React, Angular, etc. So we will be discussing something really cool today. So go on, Aishwarya. Let's have a discussion on it, and we'll go with that.
Yeah, sure. So Praveen sir, tell us about some latest
I'm not a huge person, and you're not a useless person. So do not have anything like sir or ma'am or
Oh,
queen or
okay.
king. I'm gonna
I
call you every
apologize once
single
again.
time. Go on, go on.
Okay, so Praveen, as you were saying, we would like to know some latest technologies in front-end development, and I would also like to know as a beginner, since I'm also exploring front-end web development. So how can one start from as a beginner and become a specialist like you?
So basically, we can do something like go with a roadmap of front-end development. So there are like so many cool things that you can look into, and out of which I would say a couple of things, starting with the single-page applications. So how many of you have heard of the React versus Angular versus Vue? Now Svelte is also in its own journey, and people are like having these four things competing with each other, fighting a terrible fight. And obviously React wins because React is very easy to learn. And looking at that way, a lot of people have come from the background of JavaScript, where React does not impose a lot of things. So considering with React, there's also another thing called TypeScript, which is closely bound with Angular. And so these are a couple of jargons which I will say. It's like so many things that we are hearing, out of which the most things that we hear are Angular, TypeScript, React, Vue, and Svelte. Svelte is just upcoming thing. So out of all these things, these are the trending things at this point. And there are like other libraries as well. So many things are going on at this point. But out of all these things, these are in trend. And in case if you are looking for jobs, companies hiring things, etc., it will be around in these areas.
Okay, so these are the latest technologies or the libraries that are currently in front-end web development.
More than
So,
latest, I would say the ones which are sought after.
okay, I see. So let's start from the beginning. Like if someone want to master front-end web development, so what should we do first? Because a lot of us are skip HTML, CSS and just jump into JavaScript, or basically I will say React.
Yep.
So
A lot of
what
people
are you
I have even seen in a couple of Twitter posts these days, they're saying like start with React, then learn JavaScript, then HTML and CSS, which is a bit weird for me. The reason is first start running, then you will think about walking and sitting. It's like that for me. Like, how can that be possible even? But still, some people are claiming that let's go with the, let's not completely not know the basics, but go with the flow, which might work for a few people because they kind of like get the grasp, but it is extremely risky. That is what I would say. So basically, if you want to have a complete front end roadmap, you need to know how the whole internet works as well. Like I do have a lot of videos on it and a lot of things, but I would like to start with a story. So basically, all these things constitute to get you work with a full web application, web development. So when it comes to web development, let's take the particular thing, front end web development. So first thing, if I would like to explain this whole concept to my dad, who is a mechanical engineer, what I would do is I would say, like, so dad, you have been building houses and other things, right? So to build a house, you need a couple of things. For example, you need bricks, you need mortar, you need cement, TV, fridge, washing machine, table, etc., etc. All these things are raw materials, right, to create the house. So that whole set of raw materials is the HTML. That is what shows up in your screen or like in visually whatever you are seeing, the content is the HTML. And then once you get all these things done, you have to exactly paint the walls in the correct color, white color, or ceiling in the sky blue color, maybe ground in the dark mode. So these things, and also you need to place the television here, the tube light here, fan here, computer here, those kind of presentational stuff. That is the CSS. And finally, switch about a light area. Like if you press the switch, the light starts running, right? So that is the interactive part, which is JavaScript. So these are the whole complete concept of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So you have to start with basically HTML and CSS so that you understand how the whole thing works. And then knowing JavaScript, well, see, JavaScript can be learned as a separate language as well. But when it comes to the web, you need to start with knowing how the whole HTML and those rendering engines work, how the CSS preprocessors work, etc. So there are like so many things in depth, but you don't need to learn in depth. At least the syntax will help. So that's the HTML first, CSS next, and then JavaScript third. So that would be the best practice, I would say.
Okay, so these are the steps that we should follow. Now coming even to HTML and CSS. CSS also had many libraries, like you can say Tailwind, Bootstrap, and one or two another which I'm not might be familiar with. So what are your take on this? Like if we start from HTML and CSS, then first HTML is basic, and then with CSS there are also libraries. So which one to do first, and what's the sequence for that?
Even HTML has got libraries, not just CSS. So CSS libraries, everything comes with HTML as well. So HTML and CSS both have libraries and frameworks as well. I would say first understand the basics of HTML, how CSS works, how does the display property works. Then there is the box model. You need to understand how box model works for every single different browser. We can understand that if you are using any kind of like frameworks, they will take care of all those things. But even if they take care, you need to know how they take care, so that okay, am I using the correct thing for the correct purpose? So those kind of things might work. And then maybe you will try this particular fix. Like there is something called as overflow fix for the float. But you know what happens when you're floating menu bars and other things which needs to have an overflow? That time it will not work. So if you know the basics of CSS, you will be able to handle these kind of scenarios. This is just an example that I said. And there is also positioning, float, then flexbox. Flexbox is one of the coolest things that is happening right now. And people who are working with CSS, they are like kind of slightly afraid of flexbox. But at the same time, there is another thing called grid system. This is one of the most craziest part. Grids are like, do we even need to know CSS now? To that level, it is making people scare away things. So that is one more thing that we are afraid of. And then finally, we are going to go with the different frameworks. So after knowing all these things, we have, before frameworks comes this preprocess. Preprocess or something like, So CSS is already dull, plain. Why are we going for jQuery or React or something like that? Because we need some more superpowers. So similarly, CSS is just a plain list of rules, repetitive list of rules. Even for writing the rules, you need to repeat a lot of things. In avoid to do all these things, also to split CSS files or maybe make it more efficient for the developers to complete things in a quicker way, we use something called as preprocessors. The two major preprocessors are less and SAS. SAS can be converted into SCSS. A lot of people might know what SCSS is. It is like kind of like a super CSS, and where you would be able to nest things, do somewhat programmatic things which CSS could not. But now CSS has got something called as variables and other things as well. CSS is also becoming powerful, but not as powerful as SAS or SCSS or less. So less and SAS works in the similar scenarios. Less is client side and SCSS is server side. SCSS will be like you take bunch of SCSS files and convert it into one single CSS file. Something like that will happen. And apart from that, you would be having options to add functions. Like literally, you can convert CSS into a JavaScript language. That is what SAS can do. So basically, SCSS will be able to do mixins, which are functions in JavaScript, and variables. And then there are nested classes, which is making much sense because HTML itself is like a hierarchy, right? So why not we bring in CSS hierarchy as well? So this will be much helpful. You can also nest classes, you can import, you can include things that are not possible using the normal CSS. These are a couple of basic things about CSS itself, just CSS alone. And then comes the CSS frameworks. There are a couple of frameworks, as you mentioned. There is like Bootstrap, then Foundation. I don't know whether Foundation is still alive. Then we have the latest ones, Material UI, Tailwind. Tailwind is the new player. Some people are hating it too much because of the naming things. It is extremely declarative. Sometimes declarative will not work. And Bootstrap is kind of like imperative, like it is component oriented. It has got its own way of doing things. And a lot of like for example, if you take just normal HTML and stuff like that, normal website, randomly if you pick a website, almost 80 to 85% of all the websites, front end websites, are made using Bootstrap in one of the particular years. Considering that Bootstrap has got a huge layer fan base, and also, like for example, if you take me, I know Bootstrap in and out. So if you want me to code like without looking at the documentation, I will be able to do it. I know exactly which one will be perfect for this particular scenario or something like that. So these kind of things will make one particular framework really better across others. I'm also going to check the live chat quickly. So Kuru says, thank you for the awesome MLH cap thing. And HTML libraries. I mean, HTML libraries, what I mentioned was, again, Bootstrap, Material UI, etc. Those things are HTML libraries. But there are HTML related frameworks as well, like maybe preprocessors. Preprocessors will include Haml, handlebars. React is also one of the preprocessor as well. React kind of like gets out HTML, right? And yes, CSS is amazing, and I love Flexbox as well, but I hate grid system. For some reason, I'm like scared of grids. So that's what I would say. Cool. Any other questions? Like, yeah, I'm also looking at the live stream as well. Yeah, not many questions. Yeah, go on.
As we have mentioned, according to current scenario, as I am that much familiar about CSS frameworks, we have two choices. That's Bootstrap or Tailwind. And there's always a war that what to do first, what to do next, and which one to choose, or to do both. So what do you think that what should be done, and if the both are needed? And being a fresher, can we just learn one and go on and then explore later?
Because you are dealing with two different frameworks which do the same thing exactly. I have tried it as well. So basically, it is almost like for you as a person who's from North India, learning two similar South Indian languages. For example, Tamil and Telugu, they look so similar, or Tamil and Malayalam, they look so similar. The scripts are so similar, and you might even get confused which is what. I don't think that's a good idea. So focus on one, and then go with the uh, go in depth in one thing. That's why whenever if someone is asking me to work on Tailwind, I'll politely say no, because yeah, I will be able to work on it, but I don't want to lose my expertise on Bootstrap or get confused on other things. So I'm going to stick with Bootstrap. That too, for me, the way it has made it so much right. Bootstrap 4 versus Bootstrap 5 itself is a huge change for me. So I'm sticking with Bootstrap 4.
Okay, that's great. So we have discussed about HTML, CSS basics. Now let's come to the most, the most used language, the most dangerous one, and also the most time-taking language to master, and that's JavaScript, of which you
I
are the.
would say otherwise. There is this website called javascript.info, one of the coolest website where it shows you this is what it is. Now understand this. Now you write a test on this. So JavaScript info is one of the best ways to learn JavaScript. The approach is totally like practical oriented. You'd be given a problem to solve first, and then you'll be trying to ask, like you'll be shown a small solution, and then there will be a problem statement you have to solve using the learned solution. Similarly, when it goes next by next by next, it goes on slightly tougher, and then at final stage you will be asked to use JavaScript with all the different things that you have learned before. So just one single website, javascript.info, is enough to master JavaScript. As I mean, it would be better than, like, if you sit right now and start looking into javascript.info and completely go through the whole pages, you would be becoming better than me. I have got like what, 12 15 years, 15 plus years experience on JavaScript. Everything is can be like cleared within like 5 days or something like that. I'm just lazy. I'm not like looking into that. That's why I'm still the same person, but you can become better by looking into it.
Well, I'll surely check javascript.info since you have suggested. And not talking about JavaScript, since I am learning also JavaScript as a beginner, JavaScript has a huge amount of topics. Like first start with the basics, then we have DOM, then jQuery, then the backend development. And in backend we also had Next.js, Express.js, and after all of these things, we have React.js. So what's the roadmap to go through all these frameworks in JavaScript?
Okay. For roadmaps, there is an amazing website called roadmap.sh. Let me share my screen and show you something very quick, and also show you like what all things that are there in roadmap.sh as well, like other things as well. So basically, if you see this, you have got almost everything. Like if you want to become a developer, there is also role-based roadmaps, and there is also skill-based roadmaps. Role-based is like if you want to become a front-end developer or back-end developer, something like that. So since we are dealing with front-end development, let's go to this. So this is the complete roadmap. First, start with the internet, the basics of internet, how internet works, what is HTTP, what is the domain name, what is hosting, what is DNS, how it works, what are browsers, what they do. So clicking on something, it goes like with every single thing. And then there is also HTML. Clicking on HTML will show you a lot of things. Never go to W3 schools, it's one of the worst. And then if you go to other things, there is like MDN docs, web dev platform, all these things are really good. W3 schools is like very, very, very bad, so never ever use that. And then there are like so many things in CSS as well. So basically, once you learn the HTML parts, you have to go to the CSS. Then there is like layouts, and in the layouts you have floats, positions, box models, displays, etc. And there are also games for learning CSS Grid and games for learning Flexbox as well. These two games are amazingly helpful. And also, there are like so many courses available here. And then once you do that, go for JavaScript. There are like basics, DOM manipulation, and other things. So if you look at JavaScript, if you go to javascript.info, it is divided into three parts. So part one is the JavaScript language. So how you would be creating variables, what are different structures, etc. All these things are there. What are all the data types? What is prototype? What is classes? All those things are there. And then the browser. How does JavaScript interact with the browser? The elements in that, all these things are displayed here. And then finally, you have the additional one where you will be getting the pop-ups, cross-window communication. There are some hijacking attacks that you will get to know, binary data, working with files, networking, all these things. Then animations, all these things are like really amazing. So you can start with all these things as well. So these are a couple of things that you will be learning from this particular website, and I hope this kind of helps.
That's such a great roadmap we have with all the resources. It's a very great website. Well, that's also true that very less people know about it. So I hope from this session, many people will get to know the perfect place to look for a roadmap. That's great. So, as you said, Praveen, we have like you can see a fair idea about front end web development. Now, we can't like restrict only to front end. We also need to incorporate it to blockchain. And since you are also a blockchain enthusiast, so like personally as a fresher, also I'm also hoping to explore blockchain, but I can't get a connect between front end and blockchain, like how to go from this to this
I have the
technology.
same question as
So, is
well.
there
Even
any
I have got no idea about that. I'm not a expert in blockchain. Even though I'm a blockchain enthusiast, I have been working in the hardware level of that. Like for example, I've been using ASIC miners, etc., for especially around Bitcoin side of things and Ethereum. And then recently, I started working on smart contracts and hyper ledgers. But apart from that, I haven't done much. Nowadays, NFTs are becoming much popular, and there are like loads and loads of things happening around it. But I'm not the right person in this case.
Okay, I see. So, like since an individual will get a fair idea about front end web development, now what next? Should he build projects? Should he go for remote jobs and for internship, or what's the roadmap like? What's the procedure to go for them?
So the next thing that what people can do once you have done mastered with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is next thing, learn one of the frameworks, like frameworks or libraries. Libraries include jQuery and React, and frameworks include Angular, Vue, Svelte, etc. So go with one of them, but at the same time, you can start working on real life projects. Like you can build websites, you can work with things, but make sure you create something amazing and then share it with people. That's one thing. Second thing, while you are learning different technologies, different concepts, there are like something like Next.js and server side rendering. So you can slightly try jumping into the backend side of things. If you know JavaScript, you would be able to know everything front end, back end, weekend, database, everything. So because JavaScript is present everywhere. So JavaScript is present in the front end as JavaScript, it's present in the business logic as Node.js, Express.js, etc., and in the database as MongoDB. And there are several other implementation of JavaScript in the backend as well. So these are a couple of things that I would say. So start looking into backend side of things as well. Create full stack applications, full stack projects, so you will understand the complete life cycle of an application from the front end till the back end. And right now, even though if you are a full stack developer, there there are so much demand for full stack developers. But even though you are a full stack developer, you will be working only either in front end or the back end, not both. So that way, it is always a win-win situation for developers specifically.
Okay, I see. And since you have mentioned we should work on real life projects, but whenever it comes to project, the as a beginner, I don't think the idea that we get, like especially as a if I'm a beginner and I start building project, the first thing that I will get will especially be the clones of the favorite websites like Spotify, Netflix, and other things. Then
Facebook.
I
That
yeah,
works. That very much works. Try to make a complete clone of Netlify. That there is no difference between the real Netlify and your Netlify. That's when you would get the best thing. Like Netlify is not the ultimate authority or like ultimate the best project or anything like that. Netlify has also a lot of Netflix also has got a lot of flaws and other things. But try to build your own clone Netflix, make it as Ashflix or something like that, and try to make it work. There should be no difference between Netflix and your creation of the clone. Once you are able to do that, you will be able to understand exactly what all things that are there. Even if you don't understand, you will have a solution of how to do it. Go ahead, apply for a company, and then at that point of time, you can explain. Yeah, so if you want to see how service workers work, yeah, I have tried implementing in my clone project. If you want to see how floats work, yes, I have tried implementing in my clone project in the header section and also in the movie section. WebRTC, movies, live streaming, movies, Netflix. So everything. So I would say Netflix is one of the best clone projects that you can do with having everything in place. If you're implementing Facebook, then you will be able to use how timeline, the real-time chat, etc. All these things are can be done using something called a socket IO, socket programming, web sockets, etc. All these things are possible as well. So you'll get to learn a lot of things, and these learning will help you crack your interviews, work properly in your company, etc.
Okay, that's great. Now, since we are coming to the end of the session, so my last question will be, can we look for, some like open source contributions in front end web development, because it's really difficult to change the UI of a website without the permission of the authorities. So can we have?
But you can definitely ask, right? Like the UI looks so bad. You don't want to say like the UI looks shit, but you can tell them in a polite way, like these are the amazing things that I can add on top of to the UI so that the user experience is enhanced. So yes, good, but at the same time, if you add this particular component, it might make much better sense, or it might be extremely helpful for the users to navigate or something like that. So these are a couple of things that you can tell in a polite way so that you can take control of the front end. Almost all my GitHub projects are front end heavy and not much back end is there. Some of the projects do not even have back end in them, and everything is front end related. So how many people have seen that?
I see. Okay, so since we are wrapping it up, so what will be your like closing remarks for the front end web development? Like where to start, where to end, and what to explore, what not to explore.
So basically, I would say with just have a quick look at what is happening around in the world. So basically, a lot of things in the front end community is going extremely fast. When it comes to JavaScript, change is the only constant, right? So a lot of things are going on. So try to grab all those things, stay on top of those things. That is what I would say. There are like a lot of blogs like dev.to, the code report, etc. Those help you in making sure you are staying ahead of them. That's what I would like to say.
Okay, so that's great. Praveen, we have a very great interaction about front-end development. All of my questions have been answered by you very nicely, and I have also learned various roadmaps and websites that you have mentioned. I'll be also following as a developer, as a beginner in front-end development to become a specialist like you. All the technologies, the roadmaps, and websites that you have mentioned. If there are no questions in the live chat, then we can end the stream.
Okay, there is one last question. Me, I came in through an alt. Can you guess who is here? Okay, I'm not in a position to guess. I'm so sorry. Do introduce, just send a hi to me on LinkedIn. And for those, everyone who is watching the stream, get connected. We are hiring. So in case if you know only HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, yes, we can take you in as well. Cool.
Actually, Praveen is right among this. I have also showed, applied for the same. So let's hope for the best.
All the best.
Okay. Thank you, Praveen.
Nice meeting you, and thanks for this amazing opportunity. Stay home, stay healthy, stay.
It was nice meeting you too.
Bye, everyone.
That's where we can end it.